Hey, it's Chris Pontius from Jackass and Wild Boys, and it's time for MattieC Sports for You and Me. MattieC Sports for You and Me, food for the sports fan's infernal soul. Feast on field goals. Check out MattieC Sports for You and Me. Even if you don't like sports, tune in now because you are going to. It's that good. I mean, we got sports for guys, sports for gals, sports for the whole kids. Get ready to be happy. MattieC Sports for You and Me. Sports for you, sports for me. Brought to you by MattieC.
On this team, we fight for that itch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that itch.
Coming in at 320 kilobytes per second. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for MattieC Sports for you and me.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.
All right, everybody. MattieC Sports for You and Me. He says he's not a legend in the enforcing game in Boston, but unfortunately you have that title. PJ Stock, number 42, Boston Bruins. Just one badass dude and wicked chill dude too. So good morning, PJ. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Thanks for having me on. It's yeah. I'm softer. I'm calmer. It's a different time. It's no more fighting. Life is grand, except for kids doing everything for me. But besides that, life's good.
So are you getting that positive vibe, like the nice vibe from Riley Cote? Did he teach you some lessons about just being Zen?
No, I think for his own. I think him and his yoga are different. I'm not a yoga guy. My problem is with, talking to Riley, my man, he played so hard. My thing is I have to keep myself moving or keep myself doing something. He does yoga. I can't sit in a position long enough to turn my brain off. I'm always thinking of something,
Yeah.
whatever. So, but it's more positive thoughts now. Back when I was playing, my brain was always working away like, oh shit, who's on the other team tonight? Oh shit. They have Brashear, they have Oliwa, they have Domi, they have Probert. Now it's more different about, my stupid kids, didn't put this away, or my stupid kids. So, kidding, but I have 4 kids and they're all teenagers. So that's and the fact that I'm in a room by myself and they're not here and no one's yelling at me, I'm zen.
That's cool, man. And you got to have you time. And said earlier, I mean, you had a battle station right next to you where, you're having TVs and you're watching, I don't know, like a million games a year. I mean, you're watching different teams and I'm sure you're rooting for the ones you played for a little bit more, like Boston or Montreal, or, I mean, it was a crazy playoffs this year.
Yeah, I was. I'm actually in my, funny enough, I work for Hockey Night in Canada, which for people in the States, it's like your Monday Night Football type of thing. It was Saturday nights, and it was the show. I did that for about a decade, and I used to, you have to know more than everybody else. So I'm in a room right now that used to be my office, and it would be I got 2 TVs right behind you, and I'd have the one game going on, which is normally Montreal, Toronto, or Boston. Were pretty much the 3, and then the other TV, which whatever main game it was, but there was a 7 o'clock game and a 10 o'clock game every night, and there was 2 TVs going. So it was a lot of hockey. I used to watch a lot of hockey. I used to love it. The game was a little bit different. I think today it's a little bit more of the same game every night. But yeah, I had my space. This was my quiet space. And as I mentioned, my kids, they've taken it over. So now it's a gym. So it's pretty much a gym. Got the TVs. No more space for me to sit down unless I want to sit on a treadmill or a rower. But it's my Zen room, I guess you can say. But I watched, great playoffs. I have friends now that I played with, and that's why I want to win. I'm in Boston. It's amazing that team one of the teams that I played on, how successful some of the guys are after hockey. And those are the guys that I cheer for. Whether it's Bill Guerin, who's the general manager of the Wild, Donnie Sweens, who's got your Bees, Joe Thornton's still playing, Glenn Murray, Sean O'Donnell are with the LA Kings. Marty Lapointe is working with the Canadians. I think you guys also have Axelson working with you guys in Boston.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's
general manager.
No, Axie is, I think, Axie's with the European scouting, I believe. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I encourage, and I'm a fan of teams that I played for, but also guys that I played with.
Yeah, and you played with a bunch of superstars in Boston, and you got, at the time, you were with the rookie phenom, now one of my favorite players of all time, Patrice Bergeron. So, yeah. I mean, what was it like to see him in his rookie seasons and stuff like that?
Well, he's, one thing about Bergeron is that a lot of people, you talk about him as a player, and it's, he's such a better person than he is a player. And he's one of the best players in the league, in the world. He's one of the best players in the world, but what makes him special to me is that he's just an amazing human being. And I think that's what, when people are going to be, their careers move on and, they move into something else, and Patrice can only play for a few more years, hopefully another decade. But I think what he's going to be remembered for is just what a great human being and leader he was. The goals, the penalty killing, the face-offs, the great line of him, Pasternak and Marchand. Yeah, you're going to remember that. But I think you're just going to remember what a great human being he was. And I think, I go back and look at his career. When he started out, he was just really smart. And you obviously see that today. He's really smart and now confident and all that. And what an amazing career. And you can see that at a young age. Marty Lapointe did a lot to take him in that first year. So give Marty Lapointe a lot of credit with that as well. But I think good players are one thing, but good people rise to the top. So you knew he was going to be successful.
And I mean, you were with the Bruins for a short time from 2001 to 2004. So with your time in Boston, like when you first, like what's it like when you first started to like that point? Like, I mean, you were known for your enforcer type, your fighting and stuff, but it's mainly you stuck up for your team. And that's what everybody in Boston loved about you, is because you had so much like respect for, not only your teammates, but other players. And, as I can see when you had interviews with, the Nasty Knuckles crew, but, the Boston love for you is like immense. It's huge, and you're still well known there. So like, I know it started way before that. So compared from when you started to now, like what's it like? What's it like reflecting back on those times?
I think, I'm in my basement right now. As I said, it used to be an office, which is now a gym, which is now whatever. But I look behind me. I didn't have a long career. I got hurt in my after my 7th year. I had a surgery on my eye and I retired. But I have, Montreal jersey, a Bruins jersey. Behind the camera, I got a Flyers jersey and a Rangers jersey. And, I never thought I'd play a game ever. My dream growing up was always to get a scholarship to the States. That's just growing up in my house. My dad, we watched Notre Dame football every Saturday. And, that was, and the way they told their stories, that was a dream of a goal of ours, was to one day get a scholarship to the States. Never thought of playing pro. So I ended up going to Canadian University. And after a year of actually, funny story, I don't know how many people in Boston know this, but I was a defenseman pretty much my entire life. I was a defenseman. I was a defenseman in junior. Towards the tail of my last year in junior, they moved me forward to play with a young kid and kind of be like a shutdown center. And I went to, from there, I went to Canadian University. as a forward. And a year after that, I'm playing pro hockey. And the experiences I had, starting off with New York, I never thought I'd play a game in the American Hockey League, let alone the NHL. And here I am playing with Wayne Gretzky at MSG, which was the craziest experience considering I'm coming from a tiny university of about 5,000 people in like northeast Canada in Nova Scotia. That was crazy. And then, after a few years of doing that, I won the Calder Cup in the American Hockey League. I signed with the Montreal Canadiens. My whole local team, a dream for my family, friends. Amazing experience. Didn't go all that well for many reasons, but it's still, I'm a local kid. Playing for your local team was pretty amazing. I got traded to the Flyers, where I'm, big bad Philly, which was, again, tons of amazing experience, but it was a short span. To the following year, I end up with the Bruins. And throughout the way, you have lessons that you can learn, watching how Wayne Gretzky prepares for a game, how Brian Leach gets himself ready, how Rick Tocchet works out, how Saku Koivu competes at every moment. There's lessons that can be learned. And as I got to Boston, I was learning a lot of stuff along the way, and it kind of all just kind of started to add up a little. I wasn't that great of a hockey player, but I felt more confident in myself. And it was at Boston where I think my role kind of with the team kind of set in a little bit better. I think I got a little bit more confident. I think our team was really successful. We had a crazy, amazing team. Our number one line was like Glenn Murray, Joe Thornton, Mike Knubel, and then number two was Billy Guerin, Stumple, and Samsonov. Then you had Rolston, Axelson, Zamner. I mean, those were three crazy lines. And fourth line was, whoever got stuck playing with me. But it was just such a real cool experience. And we were winning all the time that I guess the writers got tired of talking about the first line, that they started throwing my name into some stories, which kind of, so you talk about where I was to where I got to and where, my time in Boston. It was a journey that was filled with tons of experiences, but the cherry on the top was those years in Boston. It was just, the fans were amazing. The team was amazing. The players were amazing. The people were amazing. And I think back to my hockey career and where it was, where it ended, and where I am now. There's nothing that can compare to those years in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you are like legend here in the sense of how tough you were, what it's like to be a Bruin. And, you talk about Philly being like, the Broad Street Bullies, and then you talk about the big bad Bruins. You basically were that in a whole line.
Wasn't big bad Bruins. It was kind of little Bruin. It was just, what? I had penalty minutes in junior. I was defense, as I mentioned. And I used to try and, back then, this hockey was pretty simple. It was like, there wasn't as much coaching in the game as there is today with video and everything. And every team had the same stupid breakout. Defenseman would have the puck behind the net. One defenseman and your best player would always swing like this, coming up like around the circle. And the defenseman would step out from behind the net and hit the best player, almost always on his backhand. And I, as a defenseman in junior, I used to just run that guy from about, a mile away, elbows up, knees up. It was a different time. And then, back then teams had tougher guys that come over and beat the snot out of me or try to, but I had a big guy named Matthew Rabi was my defense partner who saved my ass all the time. He saved my ass all the time. But sooner or later teams had two tough guys. And once Matt was in the penalty box, well, then they'd send the next guy after me. So after getting beat up so many times, I started to get a little better. As I mentioned before, confidence. The more you do it, the more confident I got. And it led to, that becoming a lot more part of my daily hockey role. And when I got to Boston, it was just, we were with a team that was so good that they tried to stop us in many ways. And sometimes it was to be physical or knock Joe Thornton off his game or bump Samson off or Glenn Murray. And, I knew at that point I think the time in Philly helped me a lot with this, but everyone has a role. And if our team's going to be successful, I knew what my role was. My role was to whoever's bothering Joe Thornton to get that guy to think about me and not think about Joe. If that guy's bothering PJ Axelson, let Axie skate and let that guy focus his energy or his hate on me. And it just wasn't big bad Bruins mentality. I think it was just, we all had a role, and I think we all knew our role. And my role was getting punched in the face. It was a cool, and what's so awesome about the city of Boston? It's one of the wealthiest cities in the world, but it's also the most blue collar city as well. So they like having some beers and punching people in the face. So I fit in perfectly because, I like both of those things.
Well, I tell you, you're exactly right. And when Montreal fans came to town, and this is the Garden 2011, little did the Guard know it was very easy to sneak into the Garden. They just didn't know it. So when you go in there and then there's a bunch of Montreal Canadian fans, they don't just come 1, 2, or 3. They come in busloads of fans. And, you come in there and yes, they're willing to fight too. So it's not just on the ice, it's off the ice too, which is how bad that rivalry was. And I mean, how bad it was because you lived it. So, I mean, it's just like you said, a blue collar city, but we also will throw down with anybody who comes into our arena and try to start stuff. I mean, like I said, 2011, that was a big year for the Bruins, of course, winning the cup and all that. But it's just a great atmosphere, and it's so loud, it's deafening. Like when Milan Lucic would hit somebody, you heard that crowd scream. Or when Tim Thomas would make an unbelievable save, that guy was out of his mind. He knew how to save anything. He'd go to the red line and make a save if he could.
I always used to, like, I was doing TV at that time, and I played with Timmy and just great, but he's just looks like a road hockey goalie. Like he had like the small little pads, and everyone was playing the kind of butterfly style, and at that time, and he was just sloppy, but made every save. It's like almost post Dominic Hasek, where he was just an athletic goalie. He couldn't really look at his style because there was none, but he got the save done. And he did whatever he had to do to stop the puck. And that was Timmy Thomas. So yeah, and the crowd, it's a mentality in Boston. That's why I love it there. It's just, and it trickles onto the sports teams. It's the way the city is, and it trickles. You look at the Red Sox; they're like a bunch of badasses too. When I was, they won a couple of World Series during that time when I was there. The basketball team has this mentality of, they're going to punch you in the face. They have their sports teams have this. I think they really represent the city. I guess the Patriots were okay during that time too.
Yeah, they were all right.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady got. But I think it's one of the cities. Philadelphia's up there, but that's best resemblance of their fans or their people, or vice versa, however you want to say that. But the people in Boston just have this special thing about them that you want to play that much harder for them. And just it's a kudos to them in the way they live their lifestyles.
And you sure as hell did, if you think about it. I mean, so I didn't know when every time you fought, or most of the time you fought, you waved instead of like, pumping up or anything like that. So like, I haven't seen that since. So I guess you have a good signature move after a fight victory.
I patented it. It was, I think back, you're getting punched in the face. Your adrenaline's going on. I did a couple things over 7 years where it was never, ever disrespectful to the other person. It was never like the belt. It was never the belt, or it was never like the whatever you wanted, or I'm the champ, or it was just kind of, for the fans. It's like that gladiator moment where you're standing at center ice And again, a lot of these moments are, I was 5'10", 185, 190, fighting against some guys that are, I don't know, 6'3", 220, and your adrenaline takes right over. And it's almost this, glad to kill or be killed mentality. And you come out of it and you're like, oh my God, I survived it. Like, I'm like, you're celebrating with everybody like that, like Russell Crowe, but I'm not knocking anybody else. It was just kind of, you're in that moment. And the wave came out of it because I fought Eric Bolton.
A lot.
I fought him a lot, but I fought it. I think it was I just remember it was down to the left of their goalie, and it was okay fight, nothing crazy. Eric punched me a whole bunch of times in the head, and as I was leaving, I just waved to the crowd, and then everyone kind of like I see the video now of our bench laughing and the people laughing and everyone kind of jumping on board. Well, the next time I got into a fight, it was kind of like everyone. I did okay in the fight. And on the way to the penalty box, it's like everyone's looking at me. And I'm like, second time is kind of like, hello? So it became, I guess, signature. The problem was one night I got the shit kicked out of me by Rob Ray. And he broke a bone in my face. And it's a funny story because you never want anyone to know that you're hurt. But here I am in the penalty box with a broken face. And I just want the penalty to, like, you sit there for 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes on the clock. But it was 25 minutes because it was whistles and offsides.
Right. Yeah.
So anyways, but my point is after I fight him, my face is like throbbing and I just want to go somewhere and cry. And everyone's looking at me and I still like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, it's at home. I think we're down 1-0. So I put it up anyways, and I still get the, whatever. And I was at the time, that was the problem. Once I got into it, I couldn't get out of it. All I wanted to go was to go somewhere and cry because Rob crushed my face in. And I went and sat in the penalty box because I couldn't let Boston know that I just got my face broken. So I'm sitting in the penalty box, like counting down the seconds, like, please. If someone goes offside right now, I'm going to stab them in the eye.
I was just going to say, if you fucking, don't you go offside, don't fucking ice the puck. You're pissing me
off.
All
that thing. And then there was a TV commercial in the middle. It was a 5-minute, it ended up being 25 minutes. And then I come back to the bench and Robbie Fentorik's the coach. He's like, way to go, Stalker, get back out there. And I'm like, I need Donnie Del Negro was still the trainer there. Get me Donnie.
Yes.
And but the problem is when you come back to the bench, the camera's always on you. So I couldn't say anything or do anything until I waited for the play to start. I called Donnie, comes down, and Donnie looks at my face, and like there's a big hole in it. So after he's like, okay, we got to go. Let's get out of here. And he's like, I can't leave now. Wait until the play goes to the other end. And then there's like 3 more stupid offsides right in front of our bench where the camera's on our bench, so I can't leave. So I wait for the play to finally go to the other end, and then I run out and go to see in the trainer's room. They bring a doctor in, and they're like, yeah, your face is busted. We got to send you for surgery. So it was one of those things where Boston got me to do what I love to do. And there was other nights where I couldn't undo what Boston had traded in me because I didn't want to let them know that things didn't go as well as I wanted it to for them. And that was one of those nights.
And that's funny that you say that because, nowadays it's like somebody does something like an injury like that happens to a player, they do let them get off the ice and bring them to the training room.
Yeah, but it's all image, right? It's a different time. I was like, I can't let my section up there, 309 or whatever it was. I can't let them know that I just got punched in the face a bunch and I want to cry. I'm a badass. I got to go to the penalty box and say, yeah, that's all you got. That's all you got. I got to make sure people think that. Then the moment they turn their eyes, I'm like, oh, that hurts so much.
I know. To see, this is why you were Bruins' favorite because you didn't show that. And, and going back to your celebration, like, the wave, like Yager had the salute. I mean, it's pretty much like, that's his signature. That's your signature. And I thought that was cool. So, I mean, it'll be, I haven't seen it yet and I hope not to, because that's your shit. Then you'll have to fight again.
Yeah, I know. I'm content right now. I'm good. I fight enough with my kids.
Yeah, I agree. A 3-year-old stuff to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you probably already been through that. So,
Yeah. I got 4 that are all teenagers right now. So it's, yeah. I fight with them stealing all my stuff. That's the issue. So
at least they didn't steal that jersey up there.
oh, yeah. I got a couple cool things down in here. I got some pictures of the Pete fight, pictures of most of my times. Actually, I'll show you a funny one. Hold on. I like it. This goes back to when I was in Boston, and as I mentioned, my face got fixed up every now and then, and my hands. And I used to go see the people at Mass General Hospital.
Yes.
And this is one of my favorite pictures I have. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it says Mass
Look
General
at the
Hospital.
shirts.
Yeah, with the shirts. Mass General Hospital loves PJ. Like, it's like, those are the nurses in that, like, the best people in the world that help put me back together all the time. And there they are at the rink with the signs up and the shirts. So
that's great.
From everyone in Boston, from whoever to whoever, they're just, you want to do more for them. And that was the feeling when I played there.
I love it, man. And that's what I felt. I was like, holy shit. This is what I was saying. Like, holy shit, PJ Stock's coming on the show. Like the Bruin. And so do you remember January 5th, 2002?
Well, YouTube has helped me remember it. It's actually saved my post-hockey career a little bit because my offensive totals were never really there, but that fight, I think, got a little bit more. There's been some other ones that were pretty exciting too, but that one there was a Saturday afternoon. I think like a 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock game. Steve Levy, Darren Pang calling the game. And I think Stevie used to work on, I think it was ESPN or anyways, and it was ESPN or CBS or whatever. Anyways, it was just Steve and Pete and I, and it just, fans liked it. The call was great. I remember it.
Yeah, that was a badass fight, man. And like you said, you had fights with Rob Ray and all that stuff. And like you said, YouTube's a great thing, and you can see you, and then I see Riley fighting, and his one punch nails him on the ground. It's like, damn, he wanted to fight everybody, huh? That guy?
Stephen Pete?
No, Rob Ray. Rob Roy or Ray.
Rob was amen. No pictures of Rob down here in the basement, in the cave. Yeah, no. Rob was a tough man.
He seemed like it, and you and Steve and Pete too. Like, it seemed like that was a tough brawl with you. I mean, you bloodied up and all that stuff, and it was pretty awesome. You had the Pooh Bear jersey. Nobody can find those anymore.
I know. I love the Pooh Bear. I love the yellow. It's funny that you go back and here's another one for you. You go back and here's the wave in the Pooh Bear.
Oh, so you're gonna ship that to me, right? I'll pay the shipping.
The wave in the Pooh Bear with Hal Gill in the background. That's actually
another great defenseman.
Yeah, Hal's just, again, the team was real good. Hal was another guy that I think a local guy that had an amazing career, and I think we were all together at one time. And I look back at how teams are built and how they're built today, and the people that were on it. We lost in the first round of the Montreal Canadiens. We should have been in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's how good we were, and I think it's one of the things that I look back in my career that I think I won series. I think went completely the wrong way. and we couldn't do anything right, which doesn't normally happen when you have that many good people together. But that was one of those times.
Right. And, that happens too. Bruins win the President's Trophy or the Capitals win the President's Trophy and they lose in the first round. How long it was for Washington to win the Stanley Cup and they would be the best team in the league.
Year after year.
Like you said, I mean, you end up 0-0 in the playoffs. You start right over again. So I totally get that. So Mr. 282 penalty minutes in Boston. I have to say that's pretty impressive for those small years you had there. But what's in store for you now? Like what are you gonna be doing toward the future right now?
So I'm actually doing I do TV up here in Canada, which is I used to do Hockey Night in Canada, and now I'm doing RDS, a lot of stuff for the Canadians and people in Quebec. And I started a podcast in October, which last year during the pandemic, obviously a lot of things were different and we had to adapt and kind of change things up. And normally I travel around Canada and Northeast states doing a lot of events, which are super cool. Get to meet a lot of great people. And a lot of these people that, you meet are celebrities. And to me, I love how people make other people's celebrities. Someone is a little bit faster than somebody else on skates, and they play in the National Hockey League, and it's as if they're a different status. And I know actors and entertainers that people just look at these people like they're different people because of their gifts, and they're not. They're all just like you and me and
right.
And my four nurse friends. We're just made a little bit differently, but it's just the one thing we're good at. People kind of I can't think of the term right now, just separate us and make you seem better. Doctors, nurses, and all these people, they're saving lives every day, and yet someone can skate a little bit faster and we make them into kind of heroes. But what I decided to do is I go to these events all the time. We weren't able to do them last year because everything was shut down because of the pandemic. So I started doing some Insta Lives with like Eric Lindros Freyborg, who was awesome.
Yeah. I saw most of them.
Yeah, John Leclerc, into actors, some singers, and it ended up getting a lot of traction. And playoffs came last year, and I kind of stopped during the playoffs, but back by popular demand, it's coming back. So in October, I'm going to go back to it. It's going to be on YouTube. We actually, from the events that I do, I actually now start opening up my own webpage, which is crazy. But that's the new world. So pj-stock.com. And just, it's been a real, from my time in Boston to where I am now, it's been quite a ride. And it's kind of starting a new chapter coming this October.
Awesome, man. And I do have to say it made me laugh when you had those IG videos and Chris Nyland would join your show and you say, Knuckles, you're not in the chat. You're not in the Zoom right now. You got to get in.
Well, because it was all new, right? It was all new to
right.
Like Ray Bork, the funniest with Ray's like, I call the guys up, hey Ray, we're gonna have you on. Let's have fun. I'm like, the thing is about the way I do it, I never ask them questions that, you never want to. I think a lot of hockey interviews and sport interviews and people interviews, almost the people feel like they're being attacked, like they're being like poked, and you get your back up straight and kind of get on the defense. And I think what the guys, what came out of it is the guys loved it, and the girls, ladies, because they seemed like they were just so relaxed. It was chill. It was a drink in hand. Johnny Leclerc is in a lawn chair on his driveway chugging beers, telling stories. So, but it's no one was on Instagram, those guys, before. So to get them on was hilarious. So I'm actually FaceTiming Ray while he has his computer up and his kids are trying to help him on his phone after I already called them and told them all what to do. Knuckles Nyland is another one, Chris Nyland, Johnny Leclerc, Dougie Gilmore. It was just really, actually my first guest ever was Kenny from the Dropkick Murphys, which is
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. So lead singer Dropkick Murphys, one of my favorite people ever. And so he was like my, hey bud, want to come on? I'm trying to do this, not exactly how this is going to work, but stay with me here. And he was awesome. He was really good. So and now I'm going to podcast and I'm going to be just like you. I need a nice background like you have.
I can help you with that. I just need one. I need an autograph from the legend, man.
We'll make that happen.
Awesome, man. My final question to you, and this is a good one. My final question to you is, so Riles and Nasty, and well, actually it's a two-part question. One is, are you gonna fight the gnome?
I beat him up so many times. Derek Sotomayor, who he's talking about, obviously the old trainer with the Philadelphia Flyers, just a great human being.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, I'd take him. Don't because I would know I'd run for my life. That guy's a machine. But now he's kind of really zen. So maybe when he's in one of his yoga poses, I sneak in and give him, when he's in the downward dog, just kind of one on the back of the schnozzle.
Oh, he's a character, that guy. He's super chill and just like, you wouldn't think if he was an enforcer if you saw him nowadays.
He was so tough.
And my final part two is, so have you ever seen the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia? No. Okay.
No.
So there's a guy on there, Charlie Day, and his character's name is Charlie in the show. So when I heard his voice and heard yours, last year was the first time I ever heard your voice, and I put them two together, and you sound exactly like them. So my question to you now is, are you going to watch Always Sunny so you can see the voice similarity now?
I got my iPad in front of me, and I just quickly put it in. And whose voice did you say it was?
Charlie Day.
Charlie Day. All right. Well, I'm going to give it's 8.8 on 10 on IMDb, which is 94% Rotten Tomatoes. So it looks like a pretty good show.
It's an awesome show. It's funny.
I will definitely give it a look now. That's too funny.
Yeah, check it out. And I asked them, I said, is he going to be pissed that I told him that? And they're like, no, he's not going to be pissed at all.
Kidding me? No, I sound like a TV guy. It's perfect. Yeah, no. So that's awesome. Yeah, I will definitely give it a look for sure.
All right, PJ. Thank you so much for joining the show. I know you've been a busy guy. You're a hockey lead through and through hockey player and analyst. And I told you, Bruins legend, whether you like it or not. So
I like it. I love it. And I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you. And we'll talk to you again.
All the best, buddy. Be good.
Thank you.
What's up? We the BMG Boys, and thank you for listening.
Please follow his Facebook page and subscribe to his podcast at Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Let's go.
We show 'em no mercy.
When it comes to getting dough and chasing dollars.